with your character being in an all or nothing position, your job being on the line, what did you channel in order to connect with your character on that level?
I've been in those situations, George said something interesting the other day about his early years of poverty and not being able to afford shit. And, talked about, people ragging on him for saying that, well, it was you're a big rich man. It's like, well, the clock didn't start on me when I got successful. Like, everybody's been through those things. But I've had a very privileged life. But, that moment where you leave school and you feel like you don't want help, you want to do it on your own, and you don't want to go ask for, help, particularly from your folks. But I always had that lifeline, but I had a chip on my shoulder about it. And I remember times just thinking, relative to myself, that I was despairing about one thing or another, or that life wasn't going to work out for me. I think to relate it to this story, everyone thinks they're an underdog.
Yeah.
Everybody secretly thinks of themselves that they're not going to be able to climb the mountain they want to climb. Mm-hmm. Somehow you dig in and you do it, or you surprise yourself.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, can't believe I did that. Can't believe I'm on a red carpet.
Yeah.
Can't believe I'm in a movie. Yeah.
Directed by George Clooney.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Oh, that's him.
Oh, that's right.
Called him something else.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations. Going back through the Rolodex, which film of yours did you have to train for in the way that these boys had to train for this film, physically or mentally? Either or.
All right, I'm going to tell you. Ocean's 11.
Oh.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
I didn't, but it's so delightfully surprised.
I had to learn to drink and not throw up. It was hard. It was training. You got to stretch your liver and kidney. I've done films where, you went off and trained Three Kings and stuff like that, where you went into military stuff. But these guys had a much harder time. We killed them. It was fun for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it was great for you.
Yeah, I'm on the boat in a parka.
Very nice.
Like with a nice champagne. These guys are in shorts in the 20-degree weather. It was fine for me. I'm not an idiot.
Thank you so much.
With the acting part.
Oh man, yeah, it bonded us like crazy. We're all brothers, the thing about rowing is that it's complete sacrifice of the individual. You have to become one. There was 8 of us, and we had to learn that on top of learning a new skill. Rowing is hard. I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's really hard. And they gave us 5 months to they put the races towards the end of the shoot, the last 2 weeks, which was a genius move because it gave us extra time. We set this target of 46 strokes per minute in February on the Thames when it was snowing, and we thought on the first day, yeah, we'll get that. On the second day, we thought, nah, we ain't getting this. And we managed to do it. I don't know how. When we did it was shock. No one spoke for about 45 minutes. And then there was euphoria that we'd achieved the target that we set ourselves 5 months before. And that did. It really bonded us,
Big risks were taken with the idea of, putting your team up for the Olympic bid.
I know.
Talk to me about like a risk you taken in your life that paid out better than you ever thought.
I jumped off a cliff into the water once, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. How challenging was it to showcase the arc of Joe, where he began by having no one to trust, and eventually he had to trust his teammates?
Yes. Well, I think that's what the movie's about, trust. It's like this lady just said, it's Ulbrichtson trusting the boys to, he puts his whole life on the line, his career, his marriage, everything. And Joe has that with Joyce too, and then ultimately with the boat. And it's funny because halfway through, he forgets that he has to trust.
Yeah.
And then he has to remind himself that that's what this sport is about. It's about being one and not an individual, and that's what I found so special about the sport.
Thank you so much. I'm always curious, when it comes to a film that's based on a true story, how much more added pressure is there with that?
I'd say an insane amount. Also considering the fact that the rowing community are ardent, passionate fans. And so for us, I think it became more important to live up to their expectations.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some guy that notices that our catch is a couple seconds off or whatever technicalities. But
it's about 2 months of training.
At the same time, it became really important for us to prove it to the rowers that were there on the film. Like, these guys volunteered their own time from college, and they had way more experience than us. Some of these guys were rowing in Henley, and they came to sit with a bunch of complete rookies, like, we're a bunch of white belts, these guys are purple belts, you know what I mean? And so it was an honor, really, because we had this job that George Clooney set out before us, but he was just so objective about the thing, and I really appreciated that. He said from day one, like, this is going to be tough. We don't really care about your acting. We know you can act, that's fine, but this is you. We're asking you to move like some of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the earth. And are you going to quit on us halfway through? And so we already kind of knew that was the expectation on his part, and that was the end of the story. He has got enough things to worry about than 8 novices trying to figure out a really complicated sport. So, it was a real honor to row with real rowers, and I think it probably took the entire 5 months of filming before we actually were able to pull our weight out there. But there was this one day where we actually matched the race speed that those guys in the 30s did in the Olympics, which is a 46 stroke rate, which is so fast and so just... I couldn't actually believe it, and we never thought we'd be able to do it. And we all just got off the boat and we hugged our coaches. And these guys have been in the sport for decades. Like they come from the old school where they used to really brutalize you. So the pressure was on, and those guys said, these are some of the best rowers that ever walked the face of the earth, and you guys know nothing about this sport. So for us, it became immensely important to get as close as we could to the real experience and really actually do the thing, not just sort of pretend it, not just do movie magic stuff. I mean, I'll be honest, we were all hoping they would, put some weights in the boats or whatever, put a motor in it or something. But to be honest, it really wasn't. And we were rowing in old school boats. Like nowadays, they row in lovely, fancy plexiglass boats. They made us some heavy, old wooden bathtubs. Back. And so it was just a lot. It was a lot for us to do, and I couldn't be more lucky to have a cast like these guys. Every single person put their heart and their blood and their sweat on the line, and I think it shows in the film.
100%. Would you say that there was more pressure on you mentally or physically when it came to the training aspect?
That's a cool question. Definitely physically. Because, no matter how much you might will yourself to, it's a tricky thing because rowing is an exhausting thing. It's kind of like fighting, and you don't really have the option to quit. That's the tough thing because there's 7 other guys in that boat and you're going so fast that, your lungs are screaming for oxygen and your arms feel like concrete and just every single ounce of you is screaming to just stop. But you don't really have a choice. And so you just have to lean into that. They call it the pain cave in rowing. And so the coaches were just, it's not a question of are you going to hurt? It's a question of are you going to be able to just keep going through that? And these guys rowed 2,000 meters in the Olympics. We could get maybe a clean 500 meters, before things start to be a train wreck. But hey, it's film. You only need 5 seconds of, perfect technique and so.
I heard you mention that you haven't gone through a similar experience as to what your character and the rest of the characters went through where it was almost life or death for them. They were really going out there and battling every day. That's why this is so important for them. So I was curious what you channeled in order to get that to come across on screen.
I would like to say that we kind of, but I'll be honest, I have no idea what those guys were going through. It's a depressing time to be alive in general in the world. There's a lot of darkness out there, and there's a lot of reasons to be depressed, but I've never had to be hungry or not know where I have to sleep or not have a family to rely on to support me. And a lot of these guys, that was their reality. Joe Rance, the protagonist, he got, abandoned effectively at about, 13, 14 years old. And that I think, so to be honest, there's no way we could ever really feel what it was like that these guys went through. But, we wanted to come as close to the experience, I think, and as we possibly could.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys did an incredible job. Thank you so much.
So
Congratulations.
My pleasure.
I remember hearing that your position in particular was actually the hardest for them to cast. I'm not sure if you heard that, but
news to me.
Yeah, I heard that from the producer. I heard it from a couple of different people. So I was just curious about how exciting it was for you to be able to land that role.
Oh yeah, my brain basically exploded. I was walking my dog my parents' dog in Denver over Christmas, and I got the call, and I was like, it was off of one self-tape that I'd forgotten about. So
mind blown immediately. I got you, don't worry. What was it like working with all the other boys in the boat? How did you guys build the camaraderie?
The boys were able to build the camaraderie through 2 months of just early rising, brutal working out every day, rowing many kilometers. I didn't have to row. They had to row. That was their problem. But I think just learning this grueling, harrowing skill for weeks on end, it was like, you build a bond when you're in the trenches, and that's what we did.
Since you're all together, you don't technically have to row, correct? But are you training alongside them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was showing them how it was done. Yeah.
Great, you killed it. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Hi, Adley. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I heard Callum speaking about working with you, and he was just giving you your flowers, praising working opposite of you. I was curious your thoughts of working opposite him.
Okay. Man, well, that's good to hear. I'm glad he had that experience. But yeah, Callum's just the best. Like, he's just such a good guy, and he made me feel so safe, which is so important, and supported, kind of like these two characters are supporting each other. And he's so talented and a great scene partner, so he made it very easy. Yeah.
And is there added pressure when it comes to working on a film that's based on a true story?
I think maybe a little, but it also, when it's close to 100 years later, it makes it a little, there's been enough time where you can kind of ease into it rather than maybe playing characters that are currently alive. But yeah, there is pressure there, and you wanna do it right. But I think we did. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. What would you say your favorite part of working on the film was?
I think just the people, it's all about people at the end of the day, and everybody was just wonderful, and we all supported each other, and yeah, I think that's what really made it wonderful.
When George Clooney gives you a call saying he wants to turn your book into a film, what was your immediate reaction?
So what happens is your wife's in the other room talking to your daughter saying he's on the phone with George Clooney. But the other thing is, well, first of all, he didn't have to do that. I was surprised that he made the call.
Yeah.
But it really pleased me, not just that he called, but that we had a really good, honest talk about it. And he talked about his own experience. He actually grew up relatively poor in Kentucky. He was actually cutting tobacco out in the fields as a kid. So he had this sort of hardscrabble background that really helped him connect with these bunch of boys from Washington State, which were very hardscrabble bunch of kids, very poor. So I understood immediately that he had the empathy, that he had the understanding, that he could put himself in their shoes, and that really reassured me. We talked about other things, but that's the thing that sticks with me.
Yeah, at that point, you know that he's going to do a good job with the film.
Exactly, yeah, and any writer, if you have a book, you've invested all this energy in it, and you want it to come out well on the screen.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing is with the book and the story overall, it took place over years, but they obviously had to condense it down for it to be on the big screen.
Right.
What were some non-negotiables for you?
The non-negotiables were, first of all, that they get the heart of the spirit of it, okay, which is an abstract thing. So there wasn't any one scene I think had to be in it, but that was non-negotiable. The other thing is it had to make the rowing exciting, because rowing isn't naturally exciting. You ever watched a crew race from a distance? It's okay.
Right.
But when you're in a boat, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And so they did a really good job with the shooting and the editing. You get a real sense of speed and a real sense of the amount of exertion and exhaustion that takes place. So that was important to me, that they convey the excitement of what it's like to be in a crew race.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of excitement, did your wife get to meet George?
Yes, actually. We found ourselves the other night in Seattle sitting next to George in a mall. It's been a thrill. He's been super nice to us. Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked to watch it. What was your first reaction when you saw the film?
So I saw it first in August on a screening room out in Warner Brothers lot, and to tell you the truth, I was pretty nervous, and so I watched it and I liked it. I honestly did, and my wife loved it, and she was bouncing up and down next to me. I liked it a lot. But then when I saw it again in Seattle a few days ago, I saw all kinds of stuff I hadn't seen the first time through because I'd been so nervous. And the thing is, the things I saw this time, the little things, they were all good things. I was afraid I might start seeing things I didn't like. But the little things I saw, just like shots and things, they all seemed like, oh yeah, that was brilliant the way they did that. So I leaned over to George afterward and I said I love it even more the second time than the first time. And absolutely did.
That's amazing to hear. Well, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thanks so much.